a lot of questions involve the future of grading and the future of the hobby. And something that you see come up every couple years is moving towards a 100-point grading scale. Now, PCGS moved a little bit in that direction with the introduction of plus grading, but do you see any changes in the grading scale going forward? Do you think that a 1 to 100 grading scale makes sense?
Well, we use 1 to 70, even though my son and his friends grade girls on a 1 to 10 scale, and we grade baseball cards on a 1 to 10 scale. When we had a stamp grading service, it was 1 to 100, much more logical. But I knew Dr. Sheldon personally, and he told me that the reason he used 1 to 70 because 70 was the average IQ of a coin dealer. So your comment that we moved a little bit in that direction with the addition of plus grading is interesting, and we started that in April of 2010. However, plus grading, and we just won a lawsuit over this, plus grading has been around in our marketplace since the early mid-1970s, when you'd go and you'd see a coin and it would say 60 plus plus or 65 plus, and dealers would put their description of plus grading, and it's just a coin that's in between. I personally don't, I might be wrong, but I personally don't see a need for decimal grading. John?
Well, it's possible in the future that we attempted computer grading at one point, and it's possible that what we could do is give an overall grade, and I don't know whether it'd be on a 70-point scale or a 100-point scale, but quantify certain things as luster, which could be done by a computer, the actual number of marks. Again, a computer can do things that a human eye cannot do. We can't count minuscule marks or value the size of the marks, but a computer, sometime in the future, maybe that's very possible that could happen. It couldn't happen with humans, because humans can't discern those minutia that a computer does. But a computer can definitely do things like, the amount of reflectivity, luster, and things like that, count the number of bag marks, things like that. So it's possible that, I know that one of the questions was about a report card for the coins, and that possibly could happen in the future, but it would have to be done by a computer.
We did attempt computer grading in the late 80s. We had a brilliant scientist named Luke Rain. So he came up with the way to do it was to photograph the coin at different angles, just like you're rotating it in a light. And he created a machine that did a pretty good job on Walking Liberty halves and
Morgan
dollars.
White silver dollars. But when he tried to put anything with any kind of reflectivity under those circumstances, it blew out a grade that it would call something that's 65 or 45 or something. The computer could not compute what the human eye, the beauty of the coin, the human eye can see.
I happened to call him up a couple of years ago and said, hey, the technology's a lot better. What do you think? And he said, no, David, the computer would just make the same mistakes faster now. So can a computer grade coins? Yes, but it'll have to be when AI really, really gets there. It'll be after the Google car actually works.
As we wind down, I have two more questions. The first is kind of broad. A lot of people notice a graying of the hobby, that our hobby's becoming older.
I have a great story that happened to me personally recently that is that gives me a really good feeling about where we're going. Okay, so a lawyer that I know says I have this kid, he's a senior in high school. Is there any way he could talk to you, David? And I go, yeah, sure, okay. So this kid comes in, senior in high school. I go, what do you do? He goes, well, I have coin auctions. I go, really? Senior in high school with coin auctions? Where do you have them, on eBay? Oh, no, eBay's way too expensive, the fees. Oh, so like Craigslist? Oh, no. So he has, is it Instagram?
Yeah.
He has Instagram coin auctions. I go, you're kidding me. I go, well, what's kind of like your demographics? Who's buying from you? Mostly guys who are 9 to 13 years old. I go, 9 to 13? I go, what are they buying? He said, Morgan dollars. So we have 9 to 13-year-olds buying Morgan dollars out of Instagram auctions. He did say he had a lot. He also had some very old customers that were a lot older than that, really old guys. I go, yeah, how old? In their 20s. Okay, so well, what do they buy? Mostly Silver Eagles. So some of the hobbies have problems. If we walked in our 60s and 70s, we walked into a stamp show, we would lower the average age. Okay, but I think there's something about coins, and you go down to the Long Beach show, and we have the youth treasure hunt, and there's still a little buzz. There's something about our hobby that's attractive and fun. So once I found out that 9 to 13-year-olds are buying Morgan dollars, I felt a lot better about the future.
Well, we said the same thing when we were in our 20s, there's a bunch of old guys here. Who's going to be the new guys? What it is you don't know. He met one of them. Okay, you don't know who's going to be the next Jim Halpern or the next David Hall because they're 18 or 16 or 22 years old. Those people develop into the people that will be the movers and the shakers in the future. We don't know who those people are because you don't identify them. Sometimes you'll meet somebody or a kid or something. I teach at the summer seminars. You do too, and you see some of those kids that are 10, 11, 12, 14 years old, and they're like brilliant people. One is that I didn't believe. We used to have a contest, an essay contest, and I was one of the judges.
Which Steve Roach won like 3 or 4 years in a row.
He won, but a fellow named Michael Berkman did some incredible writing. And I wrote back to David. I said, either this kid is brilliant or his father helped him write this and he was 15 years old. And of course, I later met Michael Berkman, and yes, Michael Berkman did write that, and he didn't have any help from his father. His father didn't know anything about coins. But those people are out there. We just don't know who
And then
they are.
later worked for Heritage, and
Yes.
now has his own business.
Right. And those people are out there. We just don't know who they are. Coins are universal. Everybody, all over the world, is money. And yes, we're going to a cashless society, but I think that's a long ways away. And people said, well, what happens, like Sweden is going to quit printing money, Well, what's going to happen? Well, people are still going to collect it because it reminds them. They still collect paintings from 400 years ago, 600 years ago. Why did they do it? Because they're cool, and that's why we collect coins. It's something that's inside you. There are people that are either collectors or they're not collectors, but there will always be collectors. It will change. Of course it will change, but there'll still be people that collect them.
On the positive side, the good thing about all collectibles is it's information is important, and we're living in an age when dissemination of information is very easy, the internet of everything, right? So unlike, say, if we were in the travel agent business, or we're ticket brokers, or or publishing, hard copy stuff, some of the businesses that have been annihilated by the internet. The internet is our friend in all collectibles, but especially in the coin market. So at my age, I don't even know what Instagram is, and couldn't use it if you sat there and explained it to me. But technology is a friend of our business, and I'm sure that in the future it'll be happening in a way we can't imagine.
Well, before we wrap things up, I want to thank you for taking time to share these stories with everyone. It's been a wonderful hour, and I want to congratulate you on the 30th anniversary of PCGS.
Thank you.
Now, as something we've mentioned, we all have stories about who brought us into the hobby. Is there anyone specifically, and I'd love for each of you to answer this, who you credit to bringing you into the hobby or developing you into the numismatist you are today? Gordon, do you want to start?
Well, my father didn't collect coins. My grandfather didn't collect coins. I started collecting coins because I found them fascinating, finding pennies in circulation. And then there's the blue book that you tried to fill with all the dates. So in the 50s, I just was fascinated by what I could find. I found a Liberty Head nickel one time, and I thought, wow,
I did too.
1905.
How about you, David?
My grandmother started me for my 12th birthday. She gave me the penny and nickel books, and I started putting them in the books. And then by the time I was 14, I had a little bidboard route selling coins in downtown Santa Ana. There were 4 coin shops in downtown Santa Ana. Now there's only 4 in Orange County. But interestingly, there's this the coin boom. There was this explosion of leisure time and discretionary income after the war, and you could find coins in circulation up through 64, 65. My grandmother was one of those people who found coins in circulation, and she would trade with her friends, some of whom had grocery stores. One of her friends, a woman who had a grocery store, found a 16D dime in circulation coming in change in the grocery store. And my grandfather, they were first generation Polish immigrants, was very old school. He would not let my grandmother pay a premium for any coin. She could only find them or trade them with her friends. A dime for a dime, a nickel for a nickel, a quarter for a quarter. And my grandfather's quote is as follows: anyone who would pay a dime for a nickel is a fool. We'll remember Grandpa's quote next time a 1913 Liberty nickel sells for $3 million.
Van, what about you?
I've kind of been a trader, like all of us, we've been collectors of a lot of things our whole lives, and I've been a trader and a collector of a wide variety of things. I started as a rock collector at about 4 or 5 years old and just progressed to every different thing there was. And my parents were not collectors at all. In fact, David knew my parents very well, and my mother, she just could never get her arms around or head around the fact that I bought and sold coins. And she passed away 3.5 years ago, and literally the month before she passed away, she looked at me and she goes, "Vanny, you are never going to be able to make money buying and selling pennies. I'm telling you, you got to go get a real job." I mean, she just couldn't figure it out at all. And you know, we've always been collectors. I mean, like them, we collected coins out of change. That's how we all started, going through people's change, going to banks and getting rolls of dimes and quarters. And I couldn't afford halves, but we were getting pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters, and looking for key dates, and that's what we were looking for as kids.
John?
Yeah, well, I started off collecting stamps, probably 6, 7 years old, and my father was a collector. My mother and brother, my brother's a pharmacist, and they couldn't understand it. My father and I were both collectors. He collected matchbook covers, but he was a coin collector. And so when I was about 7 years old, he said, "You know, your stamps are okay." He also collected stamps, but coins are really where it's at. And so he gave my brother and I each $100 silver. So at 7 years old, I thought, you know, I'd hit the jackpot. So I started putting mine in album and stuff, and obviously the Whitman folders for the Lincoln cents and Buffalo nickels, which you could find in circulation. About 3 weeks later or 4 weeks later, my brother sold his silver dollars back for folded money, but I kept collecting. When I was 8 years old, my grandfather also gave me a 1837 half dollar, which is the only coin I have from when I was a kid, that he had carried as his lucky piece in World War I. So I still have that coin. But the rest of my coins, for my 10th birthday, my parents gave me a $5 gold piece that they probably overpaid for. They paid $16 for it in 1958. But to me, my father really got me interested in coins. And then obviously it boomed from there.
It's hard to imagine where the hobby would be today without professional coin grading service. From Coin World and our readers, thank you for your time and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks.